In today's episode of HR Visionaries, we talk to Susanne. We talk about how HR has become a critical function to implement the business strategy. Stay tuned. Welcome to HR Visionaries, where we unlock the secrets of modern HR. I'm Benjamin, your host. Join us as we shed light on today's HR universe with HR leaders and innovators from across the globe. Whether you're an HR pro, a business leader, or just curious about the future of work, this is your shortcut to the forefront of HR innovation. Brought to you by Hire, the AI talent attraction platform. Welcome to the latest episode of HR Visionaries. I'm very much looking forward to my guest today, Susanne. It's great to have you on.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
Susanne, can you tell us a bit about yourself? Who are you?
Of course. I'm living in Stockholm, Sweden. I'm trained as a HR professional. Been working in management and HR roles for many, many years now. For 9 years back, I've been an independent consultant within HR, or what tends to be more or less called people and culture nowadays, and change. Worked in several M&As. Had the fantastic opportunity of collaborating with so many different companies, teams, and industries. So I've seen a lot, I've done a lot, and I'm happy to be in people and culture.
What do you like most about people and culture? Is it something you you liked for quite some time, or is it something that gradually developed over the course of your career?
I've always loved being one of the drivers in change, no matter if it's in private life or if it's in work life. Being in people and culture or HR has definitely improved throughout the years. Partly, yes, of course, because my experience has increased and my knowledge and expertise, but also the seat at the table that HR has definitely become improved over the course of the last 10 years. So leadership teams and managers and also employees look at us often and ask for our guidance, for us to show the way. And by that, we have great insights. Our knowledge and eyes on the world becomes more and more appreciated. It's not only numbers. Yes, of course, it's still business and numbers, but it's not only numbers. And I'm not only a number person. So maybe that's, why I love people and culture. You have, your finger in a lot of different jars, and you can do so much, depending on the seat at the table that you get or take in that company.
Well, you just mentioned you have great insights, and you definitely have now a seat at the table, and you have great insights. I always found it quite surprising that for some years HR did not have a seat at the table. However, when you look at company strategy, when you look at company vision, it's the people who form the vision. It's the people who execute the strategy.
Yes, exactly. That's surprising. We've often reported to the CFO or COO and been executing on orders or strategies instead of being part of forming the strategy.
Exactly. And how do you think, or why do you think this has been the case for so long, that HR had no seat at the table?
The reason why we had no seat at the table is I'm quite sure that it's legacy. HR has been the people administrators. We have been managing contracts. We have been in quite a safe position doing workers' councils negotiations or collaborations potentially, as we spoke about last time we spoke, Benjamin, or having safe positions in different administrative tasks. It demands quite, that shift. It's more or less a paradigm shift in people and culture to move into being business leaders. It is. And I think that the COVID crisis, where many companies were, or company leaders were shocked, I think that was a paradigm shift, because then, the people was the greatest source of success, but also the greatest source of crisis management. Many industries flourished, such as tech, where I've been working for many assignments before, after, and during the crisis. Representatives of people and culture were asked for advice, and we stepped up. We were quite unafraid. We challenged managers or leaders, mostly managers, in how to care for, support your team, and not only drive the business during those periods. And I believe that many traditional leadership styles were challenged, and that those leaders saw how they actually could develop as leaders during those, hectic and chaotic years.
So it's quite a step up, right? So from admin work to, well, being innovators, being thinking strategic, and being at the very forefront of the development.
It's a very big step. It's a very big step, and it's demanding for us. Just now, I think that my HR network and my colleagues, I see a tendency that we are more stressed out about, the shift in AI or tech development than any other function within a company. We need to be at the forefront. We feel that we've been, maybe left in the admin, maybe been coaching managers or coaching people out and doing that type of stuff. Now we definitely need to be in the forefront of working more agile, more digitally, and by that we need to be on the forefront, and we need to pick up all the different new ways of working. And that's demanding. I think there will be, as in most type of roles and professions, there will be different ways, into what you can develop as, either you will become, the business leader, the forefront type of people and culture professional, or you will seek more safe traditional HR roles.
It's well, I think it's super interesting to see that, well, even in these safe roles, so to say, there's still, well, a lot of change, since it's very much a global market for labor, and therefore, well, some movement in some area has like lots of impact on other people, on other companies, and therefore, well, across the board, HR needs to step up to, well, to facilitate to this new environment where, well, there is much more competition around the best people, and even in situations, and please correct me if you have a different opinion, even in situations where the labor market is in some countries a bit slower than it was 2 years ago, well, the competition around the very best people is still massive.
yes, it's very complex. The chase for getting or the competition for getting the resources that will take a company from here to there, I think it increases by month, and the shift in what a company is looking for is so quick as well. It's a volatile world and market, but many companies that I work with are quite or still stuck in old traditional ways of working, system-wise, process-wise, etc. We are not that agile as business leaders. The world shifts by every quarter, but we're not there to meet that because we're stuck in the structure.
I think now, Susanne, we get to the essence. So we see the world is changing at an incredible pace. I think most people understand it will have an impact. However, I do think that, well, there are those who embrace every kind of development, every kind of change, every kind of progress. There are those who see, well, the progress, in particular when it comes to AI, as a great threat. How can organizations, well, appreciate this advancement in so many areas, rather than being scared away and then, well, ignore for as long as possible? And then I think it's well, the same when it comes to sports, to nutrition. So you can ignore it, is stuff you know is right for some time, but at some point in time you can no longer ignore, and then it's rather painful, lots of work, and there is a lot of change required.
As with any change, it's better to put on your jogging shoes and go out for that first run as soon as possible.
I agree, but how do you convince yourself? How do you convince your managers? How do you convince your board? Well, it's now the time that we all have to step up. It's now the time that we all have to get our running shoes out, and we need to run even if we don't like it, or even if we perhaps think we don't like it, and in the end it's perhaps not that bad.
Well, I think that use cases or best practices and showing those, and that's why also I see that there's such a big need for people in culture, if we're part of supporting that change, need to be on the forefront. We need to see and hear what is happening out there. With COVID, as an example again, many managers were very hesitant of sending people home. And hybrid workplace or work from home was very, very scary. How can I control my business, my teams? What will happen to the business? And globally, companies could see, yes, this is working. We need to work in a new way to get it to work, but definitely it can work. And now we're doing our utmost to go back to at least hybrid, or hopefully even more, come back 4 days, 5 days to the office. With AI, we will never be able to go back into moving papers and opening envelopes in the post room. AI is going to change us forever. It's been doing that for some years already. Well, with all change, try to educate yourself, try to support others to educate themselves. We've started a small forum where I'm right now, where within the people and culture team, where we feed each other, bite by bite from the elephant with, I saw this great documentary, I tried this, have you seen this? to get, raise the awareness of the positive sides. And I think that's important, that all employees and also all leaders are role models in this shift. We will not be able to go back. Of course, there's a level of being scared about the change. We've all seen those science fiction movies, or heard different scientists talk about end of the world when the machines takes over. And of course, I can be afraid, what are my kids going to work with? How, will there be a world, or has it been extinct because there's a big robot? Definitely, you have those types of thoughts and feelings, and I think that's sanity. I'm trying to see it as assisted intelligence instead of anything else. I have an assistant in going to ChatGPT, getting, how can I get, ideas on stuff, or compare 5 different policies. If I can do that, just, get the start, get the kick, or, I don't know how to do this workshop. I can't get, I can't wrap my head around, a starting point. Then I can get that from assisted intelligence in some way, which is fantastic.
If I may, one other thing comes to mind. So you mentioned before that you have been working on M&A situations quite a bit. There you probably experience something very similar. So there is, massive change. However, those people are probably most successful who embrace change, who, don't look back and, think about, that the parties were a bit cooler when we still had the old design, but embrace what's happening, and then make the very best out of it.
Yes, definitely. Embrace the change. And if you don't like, besides from AI and other development in the tech area, if you don't like what's going on in one company, there are other employers. And that's part of why I wanted to become a consultant. I will always have the opportunity of moving on. If, there's dissonance with the culture, or, I'm not that hard to please. But, for me to really thrive in a position or in a company, I need to have a great buy-in in what we're doing. I need to understand the why, and I need to feel for the why. With that comes also acceptance for change. If I understand where we're going, and if I trust the leadership team or the board, then I will also embrace change better. But if I'm very self-centered, I'm only going to work because I've been here for 17 years, or, I'm used to, a certain set of colleagues, I'm having more or less the same lunch hour every day, then it will be harder to accept change. So I'm definitely not change advert. I love change. It hurts, definitely. You get confused, but you just have to count with that. Recently I've led quite a large number of team members, and we've gone through change. And in all my conversations with them, instead of talking about what's going to be my new title, can we instead talk about, what's going to be the ambition for in your role right now, and what can you do? What are your goals within that role for the coming 6 to 12 months? What's the to-do list, and how would that develop you and the position and the company and our function, rather than your title is going to be this, your salary is this, next step would be rather talk about, okay, shorter periods of time. And for many humans, I see, it's more tangible to talk about 6 to 12 months instead of talking about my 5-year plan, because how are you breaking that down especially since, companies can't even have 5 to 10-year plans now because everything is changing.
Indeed. Well, nowadays one wonders, well, whether 5 months is even too long to plan, right?
Yeah.
And so this is allow me to dig a bit deeper here. Given, well, I think if people have this growth mindset, if people have that mindset of, well, I love change, it's of course amazing. However, how can you encourage other people to, well, adopt such a mindset, or how can you, well, educate and coach other people to well, to grow such a mindset?
I like to always add the word yet. I don't like this yet. I don't know this yet. I haven't seen or experienced this yet. Which is, yes, of course, a growth mindset. And I'm so happy that they're training this from middle school in many schools in Sweden. I see that they have sessions on growth mindset, on how to adapt to change. When I finished university, the only interaction we had with different companies through my university was with the big consultancy firms, more or less. And they want everyone else to change, but they're not that changeable themselves. So that was my view on, having a job as a grown-up, going, in that direction, the up or out, formed by, one of the consultancy firms, culture and values. You go to their school first, you're shipped off somewhere to form young people into following that track. And now kids they're trained in change in a better way. And I love seeing that.
I think it also mirrors very much the new world we are living in. So where well, knowledge, or well, information at least, but maybe even knowledge is kind of available. However, well, at the same time, it's the soft skills, is the growth mindset that is, well, that determines whether one will be successful or not in this new world. So when you look at, for example, what was currently, or what look at people with lots of experience in generative AI, well, that has been around only for well, in fact, months, not several years. Yeah, nowadays almost several years, but it's incredible to see, okay, well, it's not that people had a 10-year career in building generative AI products.
So hire for will instead of only experience.
Exactly. And for the growth mindset then.
Yes, definitely.
When you talk to people and try to find out whether they already have a growth mindset or whether they are willing to adopt, how do you find out whether someone is eager to grow, or whether someone is like, well, I'm quite happy with what I'm doing, and well, I don't like change that much, which I think is a personal decision. I perhaps wouldn't agree, but well, one of course can be of this opinion. So how do you find out how open to change people are?
Well, from many years ago, I started, which is, maybe I haven't adapted to change that much, but for many years ago, I adopted the mindset when I talk to people, or when I interview or listen for how we can, when I evaluate how someone can be developed or coach someone, I think context, action, result. Context, action, result. And I also often try to, when I'm as a consultant, go out and try to sell my services, I think in the same way. Context, action, result. Okay, what was the context? I didn't know this yet. My action was, or if you first get the understanding of how I or someone describes the situation, it was this type of environment, culture, legacy, if they can describe it, which for me shows that someone has the ability of picking up signals or analyzing situations or environments, then action. Okay, how did you act, behave, gather information, plan? That also shows, how they structure, how they think, how they analyze once more, and then the result. If someone that I interview or talk to only talk about the brilliant results of a project, or how fantastic everything was, then I try to scratch a bit more on the surface, because nothing is that fantastic. The results are often something else than you had expected. All projects or larger tasks below, you never know, where you're gonna end up. It's in all projects or work tasks, you need to have the ability to adapt and change along the way. And if a candidate or an employee shows how they've felt and thought about that adaptation, then I find the stars or the icing on my team cake.
Yeah, that's perfect, because it's I think one of the hardest things to find out whether someone is open for growth or not, and particularly in these times when knowledge becomes less and less relevant. And it still feels crazy to say that, right? So to say, knowledge can be acquired so easily nowadays, which was a massive task only 50 years ago, but nowadays it's knowledge is so widely available. So that's actually pretty fascinating. When you talk about the M&A situations, what were the most demanding situations you have been in, and that required lots of management, lots of feelings probably being involved?
My most demanding M&A situation was in a merger. Technically, it was a merger, but it was an acquisition, where the company that was bought, not only the employees were reluctant to be absorbed or move in together with another company, the top management were very reluctant and constantly talked about that and showed that.
Okay.
They were not in on the journey and had a unfortunate way of showing that in all senses. So my way of saying is, you always clean the stairs from the top step. If you don't have everyone with you on that step, or at least explain for them that they should have the decency of being a role model in the change, then it will fail.
How did you deal with the situation? So when management is scared, or the people in the first row are scared, it's probably not very easy to handle to manage those people who are much further away from the relevant information flow.
I did my best to find allies in the leadership team. I was the only representative in the Nordics coming from the buying company. So I also established 4 Nordic HR functions. I was the only one coming from the buying company, which meant that I was the underdog in that leadership team. I did my utmost of finding allies and working through them. I also involved top management from the buying company from other regions, asking for their support in guiding my superior in the change. It hurt a lot. I've learned a lot, but it hurt a lot for me. That was one of my more painful working experiences, to be honest.
Can you imagine? I can imagine. Right. I think those merger situations are probably one of the toughest things one can experience, given there's so many unknowns, and still everyone needs to be on board, and one can't, of course, then just stop working and then wait for good things to happen. But clients are probably still demanding, even if a merger is currently undertaken.
Yes, you can't stop everything just because of a merger.
Susanne, thank you so much. Was great talking to you. Thank you so much for elaborating on change in the HR space and how change can be facilitated. Thank you so much. It was great talking to you.
Thank you, Benjamin. Nice to be here.
And thanks to all of you guys for listening in, and speak next time.